Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Southwest.
Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT Uber TV. Folks filing into Globe Life Park tonight, a very warm and windy evening. The Rangers heading into the final series before the All-Star break. They look to get things on the right track prior to the Midsummer Classic. Tonight, the first of four against the Los Angeles Angels. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Greaves, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us on this Thursday night of Rangers baseball. Rangers have their most consistent pitcher of late going tonight for them, and that would be the veteran Colby Lewis, who's looking for his third straight good outing.
He is, Buzz, and it's no secret that he's coming back from a very serious injury, and it took him a little while. He felt great, might not have had his perfect command a little bit earlier, but in the last three starts, it really looks like it's starting to come together for him. He's had much better command of his fastball. His breaking pitches are a little bit crisper, and it shows up in the statistics. In his last three starts, he's had 21 strikeouts, hasn't walked a batter, and he's making a lot of good pitches right now. Hopefully, that's a sign of what we're going to see for the last couple of months, and hopefully it's again tonight against a very hot-hitting Angel team.
Yeah, I think Colby feels that it took him about the first half of the season to knock all that rust off from the year and a half that he was forced to take off. So Colby gets the ball tonight. Rangers look to turn things around, snap their current four-game losing streak. They take on the old nemesis, Los Angeles Angels. We'll be back to have the starting lineup and the first pitch for you coming up right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. The Ford Summer Spectacular Sales Event now playing at your Ford dealer near you. By AT Uverse TV. Find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 1-800-PIC AT mobilizing your world. And by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. The week leading up to the All-Star game, that'll be next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock on Fox. And this week leading up to that big event, the Midsummer Classic, coming to you from Target Field in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Rangers taking the field tonight. Colby Lewis out for the hill. Before we get underway, let's head down and check in with Emily Jones. Em?
Well, Buzz, you and Tom talked about it, the long and winding road that Colby Lewis has taken to get back to this point. And he says even after all of these years of playing and all of the experiences he's been through, he's still learning.
You got to go out there and to adapt to what you have that day. Baseball's going to throw you, curveballs, for in situations, but you got to be able to adapt to it, and that's why I said I've never really been, one on how my body feels. I got to go out there and see what I got that day and adapt to it.
With that being said, Colby says physically he does feel great, and it's actually surprising to him at times how good he does feel. But one of the lessons he's learned this season, he says, is learning how, as he mentioned, just to take what his arm is giving him that day and using it throughout the course of a game. It seems to be working, as you guys mentioned, going for his third straight quality start here tonight.
All right, Emily, thank you. Yeah, that's one of the things experience teaches you. I think if you hang around long enough, it's to take what you have that day and make the most of it. So Colby out there tonight facing the Los Angeles Angels. Angels coming in playing good baseball, and here's Mike Socha's lineup that will face Colby Lewis tonight. Cole Calhoun, the right fielder, leads off. Mike Trout, the all-star center fielder, is next. Then it's the first baseman, Albert Pujols. Former Ranger Jock Hamilton bats cleanup. Eric Ibar at short. Howie Kendrick, the second baseman. David Freese bats seventh and plays third. The DH is C.J. Cron, and batting ninth, the catcher, Hank Conger.
And we'll look at the Sonic scouting report for Ranger right-hander Colby Lewis. 6-5 this year in 15 starts. His ERA, 5.51. That doesn't look like a great ERA, but I think what you have to remember is how he's pitched recently. And his last 3 starts have shown marked improvement. 78 batters faced since his last walk. May 2nd at the Angels, he got a win. 5 2/3, 7 hits, a couple of runs and 6 strikeouts. And in his last 3 starts, he has 21 strikeouts and no walks.
Well, Colby on top of the mound, and he's getting ready to get things underway tonight. Cole Calhoun leading off, and the first pitch is a knee-high strike. Calhoun, a .293 average with 10 home runs and 24 RBI. Colby Lewis going back to work, the 0-1 pitch. And it's chopped foul, 0-2. 95 degrees at first pitch tonight, 7:07 Central Daylight Time. Wind out of the southeast. That means coming in over the right field pavilion, about 13 miles an hour or so. 0-2 to Calhoun. Check swing, and the appeal down to third, and no swing. Clint Fagan, the third base umpire. Lance Barrett, by the way, calling the balls and strikes tonight. Ron Culpa, the crew chief, is down at first, and Jim Reynolds out at second base for your umpiring quartet. There's Ron Culpa. Now the 1-2 to Calhoun. Hit hard, a fair ball down the first baseline, and that is going to be extra bases. Calhoun with very good speed. He is not stopping at second. Here comes Rosales' throw to third. It is by Beltree, and it bounces into the stands, and that will score Calhoun. Right from the beginning, the Angels being aggressive. Cole Calhoun stretching a leadoff double into a leadoff triple, and an errant throw allows him to score. The Angels lead it 1-0.
Yeah, I was actually glad when he went from second to third. It looked like Adam had a pretty good chance to throw him out at third base. It was going to be a little bit closer than I anticipated, but if the throw was a throw that Beltree could have handled, I think they would have had him at third base. It short hopped him, strong throw, but it either needed to go all the way in the air or bounce a little sooner, because it was very difficult to catch the throw and make the tag at the same time.
So just like that, LA on top 1-0, and Mike Trout takes low and outside for ball 1. Trout, a Ranger nemesis over the years. He's a nemesis to a lot of teams. 303 average.
You can see the ball getting there, and if somehow Adrian could have caught that ball, I think he would have been out at third base. I don't know if it was a good gamble. It turned out to be a good gamble because he was safe and scored. But if he gets thrown out at third base for the first out, it wouldn't look quite so good. It was just a throw that was too close to Adrian with too much on it for him to catch it.
Off speed and in from Lewis. The count is even at 2-2. And Adrian was in good position to block off the base from Calhoun, who was sliding in head first.
One of the most important parts of a throw to an infielder is throw it in a way that it's easy to catch.
Back to the screen. Still 2-2.
Adams got a strong arm, and it was a strong throw. It was just a little bit too difficult to handle.
So it is scored as a triple, and the throwing error charged to Rosales. Mike Trout with 20 home runs, 64 RBI this year. You got numbers that they just amaze year after year with Trout. This is third year in the major leagues. Check swing. Did he go? No, he did not.
Ooh, boy, that was close.
Ron Copeland making the call down there at first. And then runs the count full. But Trout trying to get aboard. Nobody out here in the first. Albert Pujols, the guy that started to turn things around, waiting to be next. Payoff pitch. Little tapper. That's going to be almost impossible for Beltree. Just sticks it in his pocket, and Trout, an excuse me, roller to third for a base hit.
It was a good pitch by Colby. Looked like a slider down and away. Trout made just enough contact to roll it down the third baseline, but not enough contact to where it rolled fast enough for anybody to make a play on it. Turned out to be pretty much a perfect bunt. Different runner, maybe a different result.
Yeah.
Not with him running. It's like watching George Springer get down the line last night.
A lot of similarities in those two.
Yeah.
We were talking about that, the two of us last night, and speed, power, outfield ability, youth. Other than that, they had nothing in common. Here's Pujols, and he shoots one up the middle. That's a base hit. Now they've got to pitch up and out over the plate, and he has been swinging the bat well. And he continues that streak. That's the third consecutive hit against Colby Lewis here in the first. Now let's take a look at the Ranger defense. It's delivered to you tonight by Fred Loya Insurance. Outfield this evening, Smolensky in left, Martin in center. Rios is in right. Carlos Payne hit first. Adam Rosales you saw at second. Elvis Andrus in short. The All-Star Adrian Beltree at the hot corner. Robinson Chirinos behind the plate. And Colby Lewis, the 34-year-old from Bakersfield, California, on the hill. Hamilton a drive to deep right field. Rios going back. That ball is off the top of the wall. Trout being waved around third. Here comes the throw to the plate. The tag. He's safe. The call by Lance Barrett, who was right on top of the play, was safe. And Ron Washington is going to make a slow trek out to the mound. Boy, from our angle, it looked like Robinson Chirinos made the swipe tag and got Trout before he got the arm in.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of whether he actually made contact glove to arm. Let's take a look. I don't know if he got him, Buzz.
You're right.
I think if he touched him, he would have touched him in time.
Yep.
I think if he was able to get the arm, he would have been out.
Lance Barrett right there on top of it. He had a great angle to see that.
I don't know about that angle.
You know, Ron Washington, informed by Tim Bogart and Joey Probinski, looking at things up top in the replay room for the Rangers, and they decided not to challenge. So the RBI double by Hamilton, and just like that, the Angels on top by a 2-0 count. And they have runners at second and third. Still nobody out for Eric Ibar.
Looked like he might have missed him by about 2 inches.
Ibar, a .283 average. 1 for 10 in his career against Colby Lewis. Ibar half a dozen home runs this year. Ranger infield playing back with runners at second and third. A ground ball to Pena. He couldn't find the handle, otherwise he would have come to the plate. Carlos trying to grab that ball and make a throw to home plate. Couldn't find the right feel for it. And Pujols able to score on the ground out. And that makes it 3-0 Angels.
Yeah, the Angels were going on contact with men at second and third. They were both running, and the thought is if you get the runner thrown out at the plate, you still end up with men on first and third. But if the fielder can't get rid of the ball, then you end up with a man on third and a run in, and that's what happened. Ibar gets the RBI.
Now, part of the bad news about having to use that big first baseman's mitt is sometimes when you want to transfer the ball to your throwing hand quickly, it's a little bit cumbersome.
Yeah, which is why the shortstop and the second baseman use little gloves.
Right. Carlos, looking at that last replay we saw, Pujols only about halfway down the line. So if Carlos had been able to make the transfer to his throwing hand, I think would have had a legitimate shot at cutting down Pujols at the plate. As it is, it goes as an RBI ground out for Ibar. That is the first out here in the first inning. 3 runs across. Hamilton at third. Howie Kendrick, the second baseman, at the plate. Now the Rangers pulled the infield all the way in with 1 out. And a fly ball hit well to right center field. Martin has room in front of the 407 sign, makes the catch. Hamilton tags at third, comes down the line to score, and the sacrifice fly by Howie Kendrick makes it a 4-0 Angel lead. So Kendrick with his 42nd RBI of the year. Rough first inning for Colby from the standpoint of things not exactly going his way. The throwing error and a little swinging bunt for a base hit by Trout. Pujols and Hamilton had pretty well struck base hits. David Freese, the third baseman up there. Freese has been on a pretty good tear of late also. Pitch fouled out of play to the right. It is 0-2.
It's difficult to find any Angel hitters who haven't been on some kind of a streak. They're pretty much hot as a team together.
This Angel offense hitting almost 290 in their last 20 games. And this is a team that the last time we saw them in Anaheim had just started to turn things around. David Freese had gotten back into the lineup. Mike Scioscia had been able to get the lineup out there on a nightly basis that he planned on. Josh Hamilton back in there, but they weren't clicking quite yet. Even though they swept the Rangers, it was more pitching than anything else. And call strike 3. Freese frozen at home plate. But the Angels strike for 4 on 4 hits and an error. Nobody left. After half inning, Angels 4, Rangers coming up. the bottom of the first. Southwest Airlines will show you the starting lineup tonight. Shin-Soo Choo is the DH leading things off. Elvis Andrus is next in Alex Rios. Adrian Beltree bats cleanup. Jake Smolinski in left field hitting fifth. Carlos Payne at first. Robinson Torinos catches. Leonis Martin in center. And batting ninth, the second baseman, Adam Rosales.
And on the mound, Hector Santiago. We'll look at the Sonics scouting report. 14 games, 11 starts, hasn't won yet. He's 0-7. 5 earned runs allowed in his last start. May 2nd against the Rangers, gave up 5 runs in that game too. Gave up a couple of home runs, 5 runs in 6 innings pitched. He's gone 16 starts, 11 this year, 5 last year without a win.
And Shin-Soo Choo able to get a seeing eye single to center field. Choo got jammed a little bit, but found the perfect opening right up the middle. A leadoff single.
Got it in on the inside corner, got it in on his fists. He pretty much bisected that angle between the two fielders. Wasn't hit very hard, but he hit it in about the perfect spot to hit it to get a base hit.
Oh, Choo aboard with the first Ranger hit of the night. Elvis Andrus hitting at .268 steps in. Andrus 2 for 10 lifetime against Hector Santiago. Santiago, a 26-year-old. He fires a strike on the outside corner. Santiago from New Jersey, formerly with the White Sox. That's where the Rangers faced him for the first time back in 2012. Elvis fouls one off to the right, and very quickly it's no balls, 2 strikes. Well, Santiago has something tonight that he has not been dealing with before, and that's some runs scored in support of him. Angels have been averaging a total of 1.3 runs per game when he's been in the game this year.
No wonder he's 0-7.
Yeah, that makes it a little bit tough. They have given him 4 to work with in the first inning here tonight. 1-2 to Elvis. Rangers, as we mentioned, 4 straight in the loss column. And they have lost 18 of their last 21 games. Road record, or I should say home record now, 8 games under 500. As Elvis pops it up. Shallow right field. Kendrick going out, but Calhoun coming on and makes the call. The right fielder makes the grab. That is out number 1. So with Alex Rios coming up, let's take a look at the rest of the defense for the Angels, brought to you by Progressive. Outfield has Hamilton, Trout, and Calhoun. Left, center, and right. Pujols at first, Kendrick and Ibar up the middle. David Freese at third. Hank Conner is catching, and Hector Santiago on the hill tonight. Santiago in this ballpark really has pitched pretty well. He's 1-0 lifetime in 3 career games. A 169 earned run average. As he fires a strike to one of his former teammates, Alex Rios. Alex has treated his former teammate rather rudely. 3 for 6 with a couple of home runs. Choo, a modest lead at first. Santiago checks him. And the breaking ball is hit high in the air, but that will peel off and out of play. We'll try it at 0-2. Rios, a .303 hitter overall this year. 4 home runs, 39 RBI. He had been in a pretty good RBI slump, but he's come alive of late. Santiago's next pitch. Just missed the outside corner. Choo extending his lead a bit. Rios waiting. Now 2-2. Alex on this homestand in the 3-game series against the Astros went 4 for 14. He brings in a 6-game hitting streak overall to play tonight. Santiago stepping back off the pitching rubber. Outfield playing Rios a couple of steps around to the right. Infield shading a couple of steps around to the left. The 2-2 pitch. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Santiago now has run the count full. And Alex trying to get aboard to join Shin-Soo Choo. Adrian Beltree, the Ranger cleanup man, waits to be next. Rangers and Angels have matched up 6 previous times this year. This is the first meeting here in Arlington. Angels have taken 4 of the first 6 games played between these teams this year. Payoff pitch, grounded toward the hole. Ibar to second. That's all they're going to get. No way to double act Alex Rios at first with his speed. But they do get the force, remove Jew. That's out number 2, and Beltree coming up. Take a look at the Coors Light Cold Hard Fact, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Hector Santiago, 16 consecutive starts without a win. That's a long dry spell. Second longest active streak in the major leagues. Carlos Carrasco is one more than that at 17. Last win, August of 2013 for Santiago against the Twins.
Hey, here's 16 consecutive starts without a win, and then find out it's not even the longest streak. Someone else has got a longer one.
Off speed and finds the zone to Adrian Beltree. Adrian second in the league with a .336 average. 12 home runs, 49 driven in. All of those numbers, the tops on the Rangers. 2 for 7 lifetime against Santiago. That's 16. That's a long stretch. That's a long stretch without getting a W racked up. How about Adrian Beltree during his current 13-game hitting streak? He's at .388. Santiago, a long look at Choo. And now the pitch low and inside. Beltree tying for the longest hit streak on the Rangers this year. And Alex Rios, both 13 gamers. Santiago okays the sign, the left-hander. Back to the plate, misses low and outside. It is 2-1, and Hank Conger going to go out and have a chat with his left-hander. Well, that would be the weak points for Santiago, the command of the strike zone. Got good stuff, but not always able to locate it where he'd like to. This kind of stuff, you would think he'd have a 3 or 4 to 1 strikeout to walk ratio, and it's just barely 2 to 1. Some years, not even that. Took something off, got that over, and it's 2-2 now.
Pretty good changeup Santiago features. Good example of it at 83 miles an hour.
Beltree waiting. Choo with or I should say Rios with a modest lead at first. Pulled to left field on base hit. Adrian Beltree going down and getting one and shooting it through the hole on the left side. So the second hit here in the Ranger first inning. Runners at first and second. And with 2 outs, Jake Smolinski will come up.
Yeah, in the pregame show, we showed some of Adrian's hits. And we showed one down in a way that he hit to right field. This one is down and significantly out of the strike zone, to say the least. A breaking ball. And he reaches for it and lines it pretty sharply into left field. When he's hot, he can hit pretty much any pitcher, any pitch, anywhere on the field. He uses the whole field, and he can hit a home run to right field. He can hit a home run to left field.
Beltree extends his hitting streak now to a team best 14 consecutive games. Can you teach a young hitter to hit like that?
No, you're born with that. Hand-eye coordination, strength, and what he can do at the plate. I think you can teach pitchers, you can teach young hitters to have proper mechanics and get better, but There's some things that just you were born with that other people weren't born with, and they can practice all they want, and they're not going to be able to do it. But everybody can get better by practice. The more you work, the more you practice, the better you'll get. There's no doubt about that. But genetics play a role in it too.
Jake Smolinski, a couple of swings and misses. Jake, of course, big couple of nights. His first 2 starts, this being his 3rd at the big league level. 5 for 10. He has found the going rather to his liking at the big league level so far. Down to the count here, however, no balls, 2 strikes. Now 1-2. Santiago just passing the 20-pitch plateau here in the first. Has a 4-0 lead, but is not exactly going out and being aggressive in the first inning of the Rangers. Foul back. Smolinski able to stay alive. Take 3 out of 4 last night for the Devil. He had one to work with there. Outfield playing Smolinski a couple of steps around to the left, infield just about straight away. And there's one pulled down the left field line that is going to be in for an extra base. Rio scores. Beltree being waved around third. Albar making the throw to home plate, but it's late. And Jake Smolinski again coming through a 2-run double. He cuts the Angel lead in half. It's 4-2.
It's another example of what he's been able to do, and that's take advantage of an off-speed pitch late in the count. And this time it looked like Santiago threw him a changeup. He got it up, and he paid for it. And the old belt-high changeup out over the plate, and it just didn't. You can see it spinning, but that's about all it did. And Jake took advantage of it. The last couple of games, he's taken advantage of maybe a hanging curveball, a hanging slider, and that's the key. Everybody gets those pitches, but it's what you do with them when you get them, and he's cashing in with them.
Sure is.
Not fouling them off or pulling them foul.
Smolinski with his 2nd and 3rd RBI in his young career. Here's our phantom cam for you. A little vibration, but where there are no people defending you, you're okay. And Beltree having to put on a little extra burst of speed to make it home safely. Carlos Pena, a drive to right field. Going back is Calhoun. He has it measured right on the edge of the warning track and makes the catch. Well, Pena gave the fans a little ooh and ah moment that came up short. Couple of runs in the first for the Rangers. 3 hits, the big one, the 2-run double by Jake Smolinski. On to the second. It's now 4-2. Angels. You'd appreciate it. And the newest Ranger, Jake Smolinski, with a 2-run double in the first, so he's got the Rangers back into it. It's 4-2 Angels as C.J. Cron, the DH, starts off here in the second inning. Colby Lewis back to the plate, and he fires strike one. Cron, a .286 average, 9 home runs, 27 RBI. Colby jumps out in front of the count, 0-2 very quickly.
Yeah, Cronus had some pretty good games against the Rangers.
Yeah.
He's hit 3 home runs against the Rangers this year already.
Going outside, Colby couldn't get him to offer at that cutter. Now, Cron this year has gone 9 for 19. It's a .474 average against Ranger pitching with 5 RBI. Gets that one left fist and drives it down the left field line. That's going to be in for a hit. Smolinski cuts it off. Cron is held to a long single. C.J. Cron again going after Ranger pitching with a vengeance. Before Hank Conger comes up, let's check in with Jim Knox. Knoxy?
I appreciate it, Buzz. Big group in from Round Rock and enjoying the Rangers game tonight, huh, guys? There we go. All right, community corner this evening. We're talking about a chance to spend the next evening with a legend. That is Pudge Rodriguez, Texas Ranger Hall of Famer. That will be September 6th on a Saturday, sponsored by Capital One Bank. You're not going to beat this. You get to meet Pudge, you get a photo, an exclusive question and answer session. That's September 6th. And for tickets, log on to TexasRangers.com/foundation. Buzz?
All right, Jim, thank you. Hank Conger rifles one into center. That's in for a base hit. Cron stopping at second. Well, the Angels will come on swinging against Colby Lewis tonight. That is their 6th base hit in the first inning, plus 2 hitters. Conger with the base hit. First and second, now back to the top of the order for Cole Calhoun after a visit from Mike Maddox.
Well, the Rangers made a roster move and called up a relief pitcher, Matt West, for the bullpen today. And right now they've got 9 guys out in the bullpen, and the way the bullpen has been used over the last week or 10 days, they need all 9 of them.
Yeah, you are right. Bullpen has been heavily taxed the last couple of weeks. A 2 on, nobody out. Cole Calhoun, who began the game by tripling to right field and scored on the throwing error by Adam Rosales. Pitchers used this year. Angels and Rangers tied at 27 when Matt West gets into the ball game. The Rangers will be ahead by 1 in that dubious category. That's not a category you want to lead the league.
No,
necessarily.
Well, once you start getting up in those numbers, you're probably not calling up players that have the same talent as the ones that are getting injured. In a lot of cases, the ones you're calling up are replacing ones that haven't pitched as well as you would hope they would pitch.
Yeah.
You hope the ones you call up pitch a little bit better.
And that certainly, in the Angels' case, has been more production than it has been injury.
Yeah.
Rangers been about half and half, probably.
And the other thing that can happen is you can pitch fine, but they have to have a pitcher for the next day, and you have options, and you're the one that pays the price for it. That happened to Scott Baker earlier in the year.
Calhoun, a towering pop-up down the left field line. Elvis in pursuit. In foul ground, and he loses it. Almost came back and hit him. Elvis looked down to see where he was, then tried to look back up to locate the ball and couldn't do it. I'm not sure I've ever seen Elvis have that kind of a problem with a pop-up.
Well, he has a pretty good angle for it. Looks like he sees it all the way, takes a look, knows right where he is. Just didn't catch it.
Wow. No, it moves the count to a ball and 2 strikes to Calhoun.
That's that's when as a hitter you're getting ready to walk back to the bench upset that you popped up, and all of a sudden your heart starts pounding. You got a new life.
Yep. And Colby, again, not having things exactly go in a good fashion for him tonight.
He made a pitch. Thought he had an out. Didn't get it.
Right-hander is ready. A check of the runners. And a pulled base hit to right field. Almost a carbon copy of his first time up. Around third is Cron. He will score. Stopped at third is Hank Conger. And Cole Calhoun in with an RBI double. That makes it a 5-2 Angels lead.
You know, that's kind of the way it goes when things aren't going your way. You get a pop-up. The play isn't made. A couple of pitches later, extra base hit down the right field line. Calhoun doing a great job for the Angels in the leadoff spot. 2 innings into the game has a double and a triple.
You know, almost a carbon copy of the first time around in the first inning. Not only Calhoun's hit, but the first 4 Angels in the first reached and scored. The first 3 Angels have reached here in the second, and one of them has scored. And Mike Trout up there with runners at second and third. Trout had the swinging bunt base hit his first time up there. The average now at 305. Colby to him, and it's one off the end of the bat again toward short. Charging Elvis to throw, not in time. Trout able to leg out another infield single. In to score is Conger, and it is a 6-2 Angels lead. Ron Washington again going out, this time to first base, and he will talk to Ron Kolpa.
You talk about players that combine speed and power, and you see the advantage of it. Well, the power obviously gives you great run production, but the speed allows you to hit for a higher batting average. Already in the first inning and the second inning, Mike Trout has an infield hit. A little tapper to third, a little tapper to short. 2 at-bats that you can't say were great at-bats for Mike Trout. But he hit 2 slow rollers and took advantage of his speed and has 2 hits with it.
Well, 6 runs on 8 hits through the first 11 hitters for Colby Lewis against the Angels.
And it's one of those games where Colby's going to have to stay out there. There really isn't a long man for the game. Scott Baker's the long man, but you know, he's had a long relief appearance. He pitched again last night.
Pujols, high fly ball to right. That sends Rios back to right at the wall, and he drops it. It was in his glove. He pumped up against the padding. The ball pops out. Everybody's safe. In to score is Cole Calhoun. It's a 7-2 lead.
Ball goes up in the air, a couple of routine plays, and one, the glove doesn't even meet the ball, and that one, the ball goes in the glove and pops out. That'll go as an error, but it'll also go as a sacrifice fly and an RBI for Pujols. That's one for a very steady guy in the outfield. He, for whatever reason, just didn't catch it. That's something you don't expect to see with Elvis. You don't expect to see with Alex either.
The second Ranger error of the night, and Hamilton shoots one fair down the right side. It caroms off the close wall. A 1 run is home as Trout scores, and stopping at third is Pujols. Hamilton with his second RBI of the night. It is an 8-2 Angels lead. Hamilton's second RBI double of the night.
Shortstop Harry Ivar.
He's got a couple of, you know, with men on base that Josh is going to be swinging early in the count. First time up, he got a fastball to hit. This time he gets a hanging off speed pitch, and he hit that one as well. I think in those situations, if you're able to throw him a breaking ball many times down and well out of the strike zone, you can get him to chase it. But knowing he's going to be aggressive early in the count, when he gets a good pitch to hit, and he can make you pay for it for sure.
Well, 4 again here in the second inning after 4 in the first. Still nobody out. Runners at second and third. And Eric Ibar had an RBI on a ground out in the first, is at the plate. Lewis working from the stretch. Pujols to third, Hamilton at second, and a base hit to center field for Ibar. Pujols will score. Hamilton being stopped at third. It is a 9-2 Los Angeles lead.
This is just a nightmare scenario for Ron Washington. He knows he doesn't really have a long man for the game. He knows he needs to make a pitching change, but there's nothing he can do about it right now. Ibar hits a pretty good pitch down. Ibar's having a big year this year. That's an all-star player.
Yep, 47 RBI for the Angels shortstop. Now here's Kendrick for his second at bat. First pitch to him is fouled back to the screen. It's 0-1.
Well, the inning obviously looks terrible, but who knows what the inning would look like if the pop up and the fly ball had caught.
Yep.
There's 2 less base runners and a different style of pitching to the hitters that come up after that. Maybe you're out of the inning, but the Angels are swinging the bats, but you give them 2 extra outs like that, it makes it pretty difficult.
Yeah, that's help they don't really need right now.
And there are 2 plays you just expect veteran players to make, and they just weren't made.
And the other offshoot of those problems is Colby Lewis about ready to throw his 40th pitch of the night, and he's still looking for the first out here in the second inning. 1 ball and 1 strike to Kendrick. Kendrick drove in his 42nd run of the year with a sac fly in the first inning. Last 6 ball games, goes back to the homestand that the Angels just concluded. Kendrick, a 500 hitter, 11 for 22. Tried to get him to offer at that slider, and Kendrick wouldn't do it. 2-1 now.
Talking about hot Angel hitters, Kendrick 13 for 26 over a 20-game period.
Next pitch from Lewis. Double play ground ball to Elvis. He takes it to the bag himself on to first. Kendrick is doubled up. In to score is Hamilton. There are 2 outs now, but the Angels have increased their lead to 10-2. Double play goes 6-3, and Colby's saying, where was that about 5 hitters ago? No, base is empty now. David Freese, the 9th hitter to come to the plate, swings at the first pitch, and Adrian Beltree, his counterpart, takes care of it. Angels send 9 men to the plate, 6 of them score. We'll go to the bottom of the second. It's now 10-2 Los Angeles. Have it shown in one of our upcoming broadcasts. That's all thanks to the good folks at AT&T. Just use hashtag Southwest Fan Photo, and your photo might be selected to be aired during the season. We'll have tonight's selection a little bit later on. And she's a good candidate if somebody would snap her photo, and it's another good one. A little selfie going on there. Well, Rangers now trailing by 8 as Hector Santiago goes out for the second inning. Bottom third of the Ranger order. Rangers have done some damage. They got 2 in the bottom of the first. Robinson Chirinos leading off and takes a strike from Santiago.
Right now, Santiago, who hasn't won in 16 starts, is saying to himself, somehow I got to get through 5 innings.
That's right.
He might not give up 10 runs, but if he doesn't get through 5 innings, he still can't get a win. The Rangers light him up over the next couple of innings, extend it to 17 games.
And you know that's going through his mind.
Yep.
It may not be right this second.
It has to be.
But I'll guarantee you when he was sitting on the bench, it was going through him. How do I get through 5?
Yeah.
What do I have to do? Let's
get through 5. Get this monkey off my back.
I've got 12 outs I have to get. Who of these guys can I get for 12 times?
Can't walk anybody.
And Chirinos gone on strikes. 3 pitches, and Robinson swinging through him. That is strikeout number 1 for Santiago. Now Leonis Martin will come to the plate.
Well, he did exactly what Hank Condor, the catcher, asked him to do. Throw me a high fastball slightly out of the strike zone. See if we can get a swing and a miss.
Martin at 273, and he takes strike 1. Leonis 5 home runs, 27 driven in. Ron Washington had said that he was going to give Martin some opportunities to hit against left-handers, but it probably wouldn't be until after the break. Apparently that changed. Leonis in there, and he's now 0 for 1 after the fly ball to left field. That'll bring up Adam Rosales. Well, you need to find out if Martin is going to be the kind of player you think he's going to be, and that'd be an everyday center fielder for you. And he has to be able to at least be okay against left-handers. Not that he has to hit 300 against them, but you know, he just can't bury himself.
No, and that's when you talk about development. That's one of the developments that you love to see, is him become adept at hitting left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
I think in most cases you'd love your center fielder to be an everyday center fielder, not a platoon center fielder. And he's still young, still developing, and that's something to watch the next couple of months. How does that develop?
Rosales takes 2 quick strikes. Adam, career-wise against the Angels, has faced them in 22 games. He's a 269 lifetime hitter. 4 for 12 since rejoining the Rangers. Fouls off that slow breaking ball to stay alive. Rosales back and forth 3 times last year with the A's and the Rangers, exchanging waiver claims on Adam. Goes after a high fastball and skies one to medium deep right center field. Trout back there in the alley makes the catch. And Hector Santiago with just a 9-pitch inning sends the Rangers down in order. We're going to the third, 10-2 Angels. presented by Capital One Bank, and will feature Rangers Hall of Famer Ivan Pudge Rodriguez. That's coming Saturday, September the 6th. Guests will pose for photos with Pudge and hear him in an exclusive question and answer, and get tickets to the Rangers game that night. To purchase tickets, visit TexasRangers.com/foundation. One pitch here in the top of the third by Colby Lewis. It's a towering pop fly to short by C.J. Cron. So one pitch and one away. And right here, let's take time for a Mazda game break with John Radigan. John? They just announced that filled out their rosters for the Home Run Derby. It's good to see. As a matter of fact, they also announced the winners of that final vote. Chris Sale, White Sox, and Anthony Rizzo, the Cubs, were the last to be voted on to the All-Star rosters.
Two worthy All-Stars.
Yep.
And so were some of the other guys that were being voted on, too. Tough vote for the fans, those last spots on each team. Last spot on each team.
Conger fouls off the next pitch, and the count remains no balls and 2 strikes. Conger had a base hit to center last inning. 1 for 1 tonight, hitting at .236, switch hitting catcher. Colby squinting in for the sign, and hits the one he wants from Robinson Chirinos. 1-2 now. The Angels 10 runs on 10 hits in the first 2 frames against Colby Lewis. And Colby not having the best tonight, his defense not having the best tonight behind him. Conger pounds one foul, and the count remains a ball and 2 strikes. Colby peering in for the sign. He's ready to work now. A low bridge shot for Hank Conger, just in case he was thinking about looking outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Lewis back to the plate. Hard hit ground ball by the dive of Rosales into right center field, and Conger has his 2nd straight hit. 1 on and 1 out, back to the top of the order for Cole Calhoun. Calhoun has had extra base hits his first 2 times to the plate against Colby Lewis. Conger tripled and scored in the first. Drove in a run with a double in the second. Scored his 2nd run of the night. Colby's first pitch to him. Popped up, foul. Able to take a look at Chirinos, but that's 7 or 8 rows back. And a play. 0-1. Cole Calhoun, who missed a significant time early in the year, has come back in his last 34 games now. Calhoun has hit .353. Season average with the 2 hits tonight, right at 300. He's also the only leadoff hitter in the major leagues with 10 home runs. 1-1. Rangers looking at that double play ground ball at a middle infielder preferably. And Conger, the runner at first. Colby set at the belt. This is outside. First 2 times up, Conger, that was in the first inning, pulled one right down the line. That went for the triple. And the next time up, maybe one less bounce, but exactly in the same spot.
Same thing.
If he does that again, though, Carlos Pena is playing at the bag, holding the runner on him. And he goes the other way and loops one over Elvis's head into left center field. Conger continuing on around second, will motor into third. And Cole Calhoun now with a single, double, triple. 3 for 3 tonight. And the Angels have runners at the corners with 1 out. And Mike Trout coming up.
It's 3 for 3 in the top of the third. Looked like he hit this ball right off the end of the bat. Just sliced a little blooper over Elvis's head. Four guys in the Angel lineup had at least 2 hits. Trout's got a couple of little tappers, 1 to third, 1 to short for 2 infield hits and scored 2 runs.
Trout now hitting at 307 as Colby comes to him in the first pitch. Got him on the fist. And that ball fouled back to the screen. It is 0-1. Trout 20 home runs, 65 RBI. After that little roller of an infield hit in the second inning, drove home the run. Against the Rangers in his career, Trout a .320 hitter. Way outside. Nice backhanded stop by Robinson Chirinos. First couple of times up. This was the first time up for Trout. Adrian Beltree just wisely sticking it in his pocket. And then an RBI single that didn't go much further. Elvis doing everything he possibly could, but Trout really can motor down that line. A ball and a strike. The pitch from Colby. Colby Lewis having given up a dozen hits tonight. That ties his career high for most hits given up in his career. The 4th time he's done it. Last time was against the Colorado Rockies this year. The 2-1 coming to Trout. Now 3-1.
Trout struck out a lot this year. He struck out 92 times, but he also walks quite a bit. He's had 52 walks. Leads to almost a 40% on base percentage.
3-1 to him. Colby drops a slider in. Well, the count is full. Trout hitting second in the order. He's followed by the first baseman, Albert Pujols. Calhoun away from first. He's on the move. And Trout drives one to center field. Going back is Martin. Still going back. That ball's gone. Mike Trout with his 21st home run of the year. It is now 13-2 Angels.
He had a couple of little tappers for infield hits, and then he tapped one about 410 feet to dead center. 2 leadoff guys, Calhoun and Trout, 1-2 in the order. They scored 3 runs apiece in the 3rd inning. With a slider down and away, and he went down and still drove it. Hit a ball in Kansas City about 500 feet. It shows you the kind of power he has.
Well, that shot off the bat of Trout with no wiggle in the bat whatsoever. Right on out of here to center field, and that's going to drive Colby Lewis from the game. He goes just 2 1/3 innings. He gives up 13 runs on 13 hits. Roman Mendes making his way in from the bullpen. We'll take a timeout. Be back right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. just jump all over the Rangers here in the early going. 13-2 is the score. Colby Lewis out of the ball game, and Roman Mendes is on now to take over.
Roman on Tuesday against the Astros pitched well, pitched a couple of innings, 1 walk and 1 strikeout, didn't give up a run. First time we've seen him in the big leagues. Big arm, fastball 94 to 96. And he'll probably be able to pitch as long as he can tonight, based on pitch count. He can keep his pitch count down, get some quick outs. Got a chance to pitch a couple of innings at least. Hopefully that's what he'll be able to do.
Well, Mendes now facing Albert Pujols. Rangers going to an overshift on the infield with Pujols up there. Albert 1 for 1 officially. It's that first pitch in tight for ball 1. Take a look at the Ford leaderboard. As long as we have Pujols up there, Albert hit his 512th home run yesterday. That tied him with Ernie Banks and Eddie Matthews for 21st on the all-time list. Next up, McCovey, Thomas, and company. And Ted Williams at 521. A ball and a strike. Pujols had that single in the first inning. Came around to score, then reached on an error, had a sacrifice fly that was missed by Alex Rios in right field for an error, and Pujols got the RBI on that. Breaking ball from Mendes. Cuts the strike zone in half. 1-2. Pujols the average at 272. Mendes to the plate. We'll try it again. Colby Lewis giving up 13 hits and 13 runs tonight. 13 runs, a new club record. Only 11 of those runs were earned against Colby's ledger. 13 runs, a new club standard. Mendes getting ready for another 1-2 pitch. Pujols laying off. 2 balls, 2 strikes now. Albert Pujols on a pretty good home run binge. He has 4 home runs in his last 10 ball games. That homestand we were talking about, the Angels just completed. Pujols went 13 for 29. Rounds one right into the shift as Elvis is there. That is out number 2. Well, Mendes gets the first hitter he faces, Pujols, and now Josh Hamilton will come up.
Well, that's a good at bat for Roman. Made some good pitches. Mid-90s fastballs, a nice breaking ball. Forced Pujols to reach for it and just tap a little easy ground to the shortstop.
Hamilton, a pair of RBI doubles tonight. He has scored both times. He was going to a shift the other way for Hamilton. I say the other way compared to where they were for Pujols. And Mendes pumps a fastball right down the middle. Hamilton batting at 292 now. Rip and miss like that changeup. 0-2. Josh, another relatively chilly reception here at Globe Life Park. It's been that way for the last year plus. And he's gone on strikes, and that elicits a pretty big cheer. Well, the Angels gone. They do score 3 times on 3 hits. Nobody left. After 2.5, 13-2 Los Angeles. Texas Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. And by the all-new Mazda 3 with seamless connectivity. Top of the Ranger order to face Hector Santiago here in the bottom of the third inning. Shin-Soo Choo, who began things by singling to center. Next pitch to him is on the outside corner. 1 ball and 1 strike. Choo hitting at .252 now after that first inning base hit. 1-2 the count. Rangers had 2 runs on 3 hits in that first inning. Coming back after the Angels had scored 4 in the top of the first. Rangers looked like they were going to show the Angels they were not dead. They were coming back, and the Angels just kept adding on. LA came back and put 6 on the board in the second, 3 more in the third. And Choo down on strikes. Big sweeping breaking ball. Second strikeout for Santiago.
Yeah, we're talking about Santiago, Buzz, after he came out for the second inning. Kind of jokingly saying he's got to figure out a way to get through 5 innings. Well, looks like he's settled down and is on the way to figuring that out. He's now retired 5 straight, a couple of them on strikes. Santiago came over to the Angels in a trade. Angels figured they had a lot of offense, and they traded Mark Trumbo. They needed young starters. They got Santiago and Tyler Skaggs, 2 young left-handed starters that they felt would help them now and also give them some depth in the rotation as they continue to go forward in years to come. And they're probably right with the 2 lefties. As it turns out, Trumbo is a very valuable offensive player, but they've got so much offense, and C.J. Cron, who basically has taken his place, looks like the exact same player. So they haven't skipped a beat offensively and picked up 2 young starters. So that was a pretty good deal for them.
Mistakes inside. Mike Scioscia, and admittedly, after the last couple of years, the Angels were down. He said, we had to retool some things and not only get our guys healthy, but we needed some help pitching-wise. And that's what the 2 young guys you're talking about, Santiago and Skaggs, they fit right into our plan. 3-1 to Elvis. Andrews, a fly ball to right, his first time up there. It's a full count. Andrews at .267. It's the Angels' last 22 ball games. That goes back through last year. .367 average for Elvis. Payoff pitch is laced foul. Crowd understandably quiet here in the third inning. Angels kind of took the wind out of their sails with 13 quick runs in the first 3 innings. Another 3-2. And a high chopper out to second. Kendrick waits and throws quickly. Elvis retired, 2 gone. So Santiago able to come back with 3 Oakland. Ground ball out, 2 away for Alex Rios. Rios reached on a fielder's choice in the first. Came around to score on Jake Smolinski's 2-run double.
Santiago pitched for the White Sox last year. He had a losing record. He was 4-9, but he had a good ERA. His ERA was .356. He had 23 starts and 11 relief appearances as well.
The 0-1 pitch is low and outside. I guess the White Sox figured that with Chris Sale is a pretty top quality left-hander, and Jose Quintana they had
a couple of good ones. John Danks.
And John Danks as starters, and Santiago just didn't fit into that role for him. 2-1 now, the count to Alex Rios. Pitch fouled straight back and out of play. The count is even. Santiago still very manageable pitch count. He's at 49 right now. His next will be number 50 to Alex Rios. Santiago with an 11-run advantage. Another full count. Well, Alex trying to extend this third inning. Give Adrian Beltree another opportunity against the Angels left-hander Santiago. Payoff pitch. Outside, ball 4. Hank Conger making the catch on that pitch and a little disgustedly slammed the ball back into his glove before he threw it back to Santiago. Not what you want to see with an 11-run lead.
No, that's probably the last thing that Santiago was trying to do, obviously. He's probably saying, I'm trying to throw this ball right down the middle of the plate. Not trying to be too fine, not trying to make a perfect pitch. I just want to throw a strike right here, put something on it, and take my chances. But as hard as he tried to throw a strike, he wasn't able to do it.
A 1-on, 2-out. Here's Adrian, who extended his hitting streak to 14 straight with the first inning single. Beltree now with the average at 338. 1 ball, no strikes. A dozen home runs, 49 RBI, and this is a guy that was scuffling the latter stages of April, battling injury and having a hard time driving in runs. You know, one thing about experienced hitters that have track records like Adrian Beltree, you can almost always figure that they're going to, at the end of the year or sometime during the year, they're going to catch fire and be pretty close to where their track record says they would be.
Yeah, if they're not hurt, then that's going to happen. And if you're cold at the beginning, it just means someone's going to pay as the season goes on.
Off the end of the bat, a pop up to shallow right. Kendrick going out, making the call and the catch, and that'll do it. Rangers get a 2-out walk, but strand their second runner of the game. We have finished 3, and the Angels all over the Rangers tonight, 13-2.
Here at Globe Life Park in Arlington with the Angels on top of the Rangers by a score of 13-2. That definitely not a welcome sight for Ranger fans. However, there was a welcome sight in the clubhouse this afternoon as Prince Fielder made an appearance and spoke with the media. Says the time away has given him a fresh perspective on the game.
I mean, it's been hard, but I mean, I'm trying to, deal with it the best way I can. Trying to, I'm coming here, every day, hanging out with the guys, so that helps a little bit. But, yeah, just trying to make the best of it, I guess.
And he does say when he comes back, he's going to try to enjoy the game more, appreciate what it's given to him. And I mentioned that he, was making a rare appearance. He usually sneaks out cleverly before the media gets there, but he has been hanging out, as he mentioned, with the guys on a regular basis before we arrive in the afternoon, guys.
All right, Em, thank you. Yeah, it's not an unusual sight to see Prince down there. There's Odor. Rugnet is coming to the ball game to take over at second base, moving from second to short. Adam Rosales. So Elvis Andrus having the rest of the night off. Eric Ibar, the shortstop for the Angels, leading off against Roman Mendes. And this is low. 1 ball and 1 strike.
It's got to be tough for Prince. There's a guy that never missed a game.
Yeah.
And he plays every single day. That's what he plans on doing every time he comes to the ballpark. And now to be unable to play and have to come to the ballpark, it's nice to get together with your guys and spend some time in the clubhouse, but not quite the same as when you're going out there playing every day.
Did you ever spend much time on the DL?
No, I was on the DL once, and we were talking to Derek Holland about that today, and I know exactly what he was talking about. You feel welcomed because obviously the guys on the team are your friends, but you just don't feel part of the team when you're on the disabled list. Everybody's nice to you, but you're just not treated like you're on the team.
Yeah.
Technically, you're not. And it's hard. Especially when you're used to playing every day and going out there every 5 days and pitching like Derek or playing first base every day like Prince. It's difficult when you don't get the chance to do that. And I'm not saying players ever take for granted being a big league player. Might be a few that do. Most of them are proud of it and incredibly appreciative that they have the ability and the opportunity to do it. But at the same time, it does give you time to reflect if you're Prince Fielder and you're not getting a chance to play, and you look back at playing every day and say, that's where I want to be.
A walk puts Ibar aboard. Mendes, who had retired the first 2 that he faced back in the 3rd inning, walks the leadoff man here. Now he will deal with Howie Kendrick. Kendrick 0 for 1 officially. Takes a strike for Mendes. Kendrick, a sacrifice fly in the 1st inning, drove in his 42nd run of the year. Last time up, ran it into a double play. The next 2 men in the order, Kendrick and David Freese, the only 2 Angels that have not had a base hit tonight. 0-1 for Mendes. 1 ball and 1 strike. I guess you could kind of liken that guy coming into the clubhouse that's been on the DL all years and how a family treats a distant relative. They're going to be nice to him because they're part of the extended family. But
oh boy, here comes Uncle Bob for Thanksgiving Day dinner. What a treat! It might not be quite that bad.
No, it's not quite that bad, I think. Breaking ball is wide. It's 2-1.
One of the things that most teams do is when a guy's on the disabled list and he spends a lot of time working out in many cases in the spring training site where they have basically a rehab coach, they have trainers, doctors, and that's what it's there for. That's where the guys that are injured go. As they get closer to being activated, then they'll rejoin the big league team. That's one thing they do is they keep the disabled players away from the clubhouse.
Only 1 play for Adrian Beltree on that slow roller off the bat of Kendrick. It's to first. And down to second goes Ibar. He's there with 1 out now, and David Freese coming up.
In the Rangers case, there wouldn't be room in the clubhouse for everybody that's on the disabled list.
Yeah. Well, fans attending tomorrow night's game will be treated to a post-game fireworks show set to movie soundtrack music. Fireworks will follow the 7:05 game against these Angels, and $15 tickets in the upper reserve seating sections are available at TexasRangers.com by using the coupon code FIREWORKS. One on, 1 out. David Freese, a strikeout and a ground out tonight. Mendes checking in with Ibar. Don't think Eric Ibar is planning on stealing, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'd be a little surprised myself. I think Mike Scioscia would be too.
Yeah. David Freese swinging fastball, but got a breaking ball. It is 0-1. Freese, over his last 16 ball games, we told you he'd been swinging the bat much better. There's evidence of it. 396 over those 16 games with 8 extra base hits. It's foul back. He is now down on the count. No balls and 2 strikes to Roman Mendes. Mendes, 23 years of age, out of the Dominican Republic. Rangers acquired him in the trade with the Boston Red Sox back at the trading deadline in 2010. That was a deal that sent Jared Saltalamacchia on to Boston. 0-2 pitch here. Now 1-2. You're talking about rehab and assorted injuries. Giovanni Soto beginning his rehab assignments. He is now down at Frisco and 1 for 2 tonight. His plan was to catch 7 innings both tonight and tomorrow night, I believe, for the Rough Riders.
Yeah, Giovanni reported back that the body felt great, the timing not so great. Well, it's going to take some time. That's always the case.
Second strikeout for Mendes as Freese down swinging.
Well, Mendes has a good fastball. It's consistently mid 90-mile-per-hour range. That's a pretty good changeup, as Josh Hamilton found out. Threw Josh a couple that he was way out in front of. And a pretty good breaking ball that he got Albert Pujols to ground out to shortstop on.
No, 2 away with Ibar still at second. Here's C.J. Cron. Cron 1 out of 2 tonight. Good breaking ball, and Mendes using his secondary pitches effectively, as they say. Cron hitting at .288 for the season. Mendes a check of second. Back to the plate he comes. 1-1. Roman Mendes 0-1 with 25 relief appearances down at AAA Round Rock. This is outside. 31 total innings down there, and in relief for the Express had 30 strikeouts in those 31 innings as opposed to 12 walks. Two and 1 is the count to Cron. Tried the breaking ball again, and Cron checked his swing. It's 3-1. C.J. Cron, the times that we have seen him, has had pretty good discipline at the plate. He's not a wild swinger up there by any means. Off the end of the bat and backhanded nicely by Pena. Underhands to Mendes covering, and that will do it. Nice play by the veteran Carlos Pena. No runs, no hits. The Walker left stranded. We finished 3.5. 13-2 Angels. The young group on our production crew. There you go. That's perfect. This one's in focus. We're not used to that. Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. Just kidding. Very nice. Yeah, we're joined by Tim Love. And Tim, you had a pretty good toss out there for opening pitch. Were you a little nervous?
Oh, yeah, I was nervous. I didn't know I was throwing the first pitch, to be honest with you. That may have been a good thing. I'm not really sure. But it was a little, it was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I enjoyed it. It's really awesome. I've never done that before.
Mechanically, you look pretty good.
Well,
you've been out throwing batting practice stuff, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
boy. Uh-oh.
So what are you thinking
That's
right
now?
Don't bounce
I'm
it?
thinking, don't bounce it.
It's perfect.
Trying to keep it outside for those left-handed batters.
Well,
I'm bringing good luck here. I just want to point that out.
Well, Jake Smolinski was going to stop, and Hamilton overran the ball, so Jake continued on to second. And he is 2 for 2 tonight.
Like Tim,
a 3-hit night last night.
You avoided the biggest mistake that people throwing out the first pitch fall into.
Oh, yeah?
They want to throw it hard.
Oh, yeah.
And when you throw it hard, you're asking for a bounce. Put a little arc into it, and you come home okay.
My friend told me it's all about the release. He said, throw it hard, but if you release it where you want it to go, right?
Yeah.
No, and if you throw it hard, you end up releasing it down here.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Give the catcher a chance.
Apparently, pretty soon they're going to call me up to go pitch anyway because they're running out. We're getting a little low on pitching.
Well, they're getting a little tired out there. I don't think we've reached that point yet, Tim. But
thank goodness.
I don't know. That was a pretty good strike. I'm going to go with that.
Over the last couple of years, there's been some celebrities throw out the first pitch that didn't fare too well. I don't know if you've seen some of those NBA players that tried to throw out the first pitch.
I know I saw 50 Cent throw one in the first
That's
the first base dugout.
I can't remember who did that.
Home team dugout.
I saw that one. John Wall had a good one, too. You just assume that every kid that grows up learns how to throw, but obviously
I would agree with that.
Some great athletes don't.
Well, some people can jump and some people can throw a baseball, I guess.
Yeah, I guess they can.
Carlos Pena shooting one foul.
Carlos had another ball in the first inning. He's had probably 7 or 8 in the last few weeks where he almost hit the ball out of the ballpark. That one looked like it jumped pretty good. Got underneath it just a little bit. Went all the way to the warning track. So he's having some good at-bats without anything to show for it.
A little early on that one.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit.
Pena, a pretty deep fly ball to right. Oh, he hits it pretty well to center, but Mike Trout has it measured. Back a step or two. Tagging at second, Smolinski. Here comes the throw from Trout. Not quite in time. It was right on the money, but Smolinski able to beat the throw and the tag at third.
Pretty long-range throw. He actually comes pretty close on it. Smolinski runs hard, hustles all the way. Freeze acts like there's no throw coming, hoping he can get him to let up and not slide, but it didn't work.
So Smolinski now at third base with one out. Robinson Chirinos coming up. Tim Love joining us. And Tim, before I would be remiss not to thank you very much for the support that you've given the Rangers organization and buying this package, donating for the Tornado Relief Fund from last year. We can't thank you enough for doing all that and for everything you have done.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. Absolutely. I mean, gosh, look at the treatment we've had today. It's been amazing. And it's been a beautiful night too. The weather's really nice.
It has.
Started out kind of hot.
Tim, tell us about your business and what you've got planned and where you are right now.
Well, we got just had a new TV show come out on CNBC.
Right.
I premiered on Tuesday night and did very, very well, called Restaurant Startup, where we see young entrepreneurs, me and my partner Joe Bastianich. And if they perform well enough on the show, they pitch us kind of like Shark Tank, and we invest in their business and basically give them an opportunity for their dreams, which is amazing.
People all over the country, or
yes, sir,
in Texas?
All over the country, and we I just invested in 3 young guys in Seattle, Washington, that make congee. You ever had congee?
No.
Congee's like a rice porridge. It's eaten in half the world every day, but we don't eat it much in America. It's kind of a new thing for us, like maybe comparable to ramen noodles and things like that. So.
We'll have to try that. We're going to Seattle next month. You have to let us know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You should.
You got plans to incorporate it into any of your restaurants?
You know, I made congee for the first time personally about 2 weeks ago because I wanted to make it for the premiere party, and it's really delicious. So, those of you, and
going to get us 1 run closer.
Yep. Sacrifice fly. Smolinski scores. Robinson Chirinos drives in his 28th of the year, and that makes it a 13-3 Angel lead.
Which means we're only down by 9.
Got to start somewhere.
That's right.
Well, the base is empty now, 2 away. And Leonis Martin coming up. Martin, a fly ball to left, his first time up there. I would imagine with your business, Tim, you're out and ground traveling probably more than we do, huh?
Well, I don't know about that. You guys travel a lot, especially the Rangers. I don't know how these guys do it. That many games a year. But, you know, I do a bit of traveling for sure. Most of it's, I try to, you know, I eat all kinds of great places, learn more and more every day, try to bring it back to Texas. Hopefully introduce some people to some new things and some fun things.
What city excites you as far as the food, the varying food offerings there?
To be honest with you, right now, Nashville is really exciting.
Really?
Yeah. It's a great little town, and it's got a booming little food scene right now. And we produce a food and wine festival there called Music City Eats, and but now, or Music City Food and Wine is what we call it. But it's just a cool town. I think he's going to knock it right here.
Okay, we got a call in.
So you just want to take a little bit of time. He was nervous.
He might have heard you.
The pitcher might have heard me.
Yeah, that's right.
Down just a bit outside.
Yep. You scared him.
Tim, I understand you're going to be doing the food at Amon Carter Stadium at TCU
We
football
did do that
games.
for 2 years, yes, sir. And it was amazing. Great experience. Really enjoyed it.
And Colonial? I was out at Colonial.
Yeah, Colonial was awesome.
Leonis Martin caught looking at that third strike. He is gone. Rangers get a run on a hit and an error. Tim, thanks very much for joining us.
My pleasure,
really appreciate
gentlemen.
it. And again, thanks for your support. We certainly couldn't do it without you. Thank you.
My pleasure, gentlemen. Great hanging with you.
13-3 as we go to the 5th inning.
Thank you.
Every Saturday morning. It's on at 10 o'clock right here on Fox Sports Southwest, where it's not about the score, it's about the experience. Part of the group up here, they're getting all the camera experience that they possibly could want. That's great. And there's a shot right there. Good tight shot of Hank Conger coming to the plate. Very nicely done.
I think that young man might have decided what he wants to do in his future.
Yep. Now, as we go to the 5th inning, we are joined, as always, by Mark McLemore, the co-host of Rangers Live before and after the ball game. I don't know where to start, Mac. I hate to go back to the first, second, and third innings, but that's where I guess we have to start.
Yeah.
Not a good start for the Rangers tonight.
No, unfortunately, not a good start for Colby. Just couldn't really find his rhythm.
Yeah.
You know? Obviously, not being able to put the ball where he wanted to and execute his pitches. A rough few innings for Colby. Rough outing for sure.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: if you're in the infield and a couple of things happen, like the missed pop-up or the error on Rios in the fly ball, you have to be able to see what that does to a pitcher as far as his facial expression, body language, whatever. Is it up to a veteran to go in like yourself would have and talk to him and see if, hey, calm back down?
Absolutely. Now, if you're the guy that made the error, probably not a good idea for you to do it. Somebody else needs to go up there.
You're not going to say sorry, man.
No, my bad. Doing the my bad thing, that doesn't work right at that time. So, no. But, yeah, you definitely see, you know what it does. You don't even have to see it. You can turn around and just know that, hey, you know, I blew it. We're all struggling. We're struggling as a team.
Yeah.
The starting rotation struggling, so you know if you make an error behind him, it just makes it that much more difficult for him.
Yeah, I would think it'd be pretty easy, not just for the pitcher, for anybody on the field, to have a couple of things go wrong early, to almost not to say, don't force yourself not to say, here we go again.
Yeah, you've got to try to avoid that, but you know it's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
When the same things happen day in and day out, it's like, oh, here we go again, first inning, second inning. It's tough to not say that or even think about it.
Cole Calhoun chopping the first pitch foul. It's 0-1. If there were an easy way to get away from being down before you ever come to the plate, it would be done already. But what do you do as a team? What do you try to do as a teammate to ease the burden of everybody else?
I think what you've got to do is you've got to try and keep everybody loose and act like you're winning and not act like you're losing. I think that goes a long way. It doesn't always work, but you've got to stay positive because this is such a long season. It can get very monotonous, especially when you're not playing well. So you've got to try and stay positive and keep everybody else as positive as you can, especially if you're that veteran guy. Because you know you've got a lot of young guys that are very impressionable right now. They're looking, even though they may not realize it, those young guys are looking to see how those veterans are handling it. And I think if they, see how Beltree's handling, how Elvis is handling, how Rios is handling things, I think it makes it easier for them if they see those guys remain calm and still going around doing the same things that they're doing when they're hitting the baseball and playing.
Nice play by Carlos Pena, knocking it down and not trying to rush himself, but knowing how much time he had, made a good solid throw to Mendes for the second out.
Conger making a bid for another ground ball down the right field line. Fortunately, we had someone there to catch it, and they turn it into an out. Good look at it, not panicking. Accurate flip. And finally, Calhoun is an out.
Oh, 2 gone. Here's Mike Trout coming up the first time with 2 outs and nobody aboard. Trout 3 for 3, a pair of infield singles and a 407-foot home run. Well, he's gone from one extreme to the other and takes a strike from Mendes. Trout batting .309 as he faces the 23-year-old right-hander. One and one now. Mendes reading the signs from Robinson Chirinos. Base hit to left. 4th hit of the night for Mike Trout. Ball gets away momentarily from Jake Smolinski, but not far enough to allow Trout to continue to second base. So 14 hits now for the Angels. Our Chevy tracker showing you that ball catching a lot of the strike zone. Albert Pujols now will step to the plate. Pujols is 1 for 2 officially. He has scored twice. He has driven in a run. Last time up, grounded out to short. Mendes starts him off with a breaking ball that's wide. It's 1-0. This Angel lineup, back we were talking about how well they've been swinging the bat the last 4 weeks, really, since the Rangers saw them out in Anaheim. They have turned into the kind of club that 2 years ago you thought they were probably going to be, but hadn't been yet. Mike Socha is going to be pretty happy that the turn of events for them offensively, especially.
Oh, there's no question about it. And I think, if you really look at what's going on with these guys this year, like you said, a couple years ago they were supposed to play like this. Mm-hmm. But what happened over those last couple of years were what's going on with the Rangers right now, injuries. Right. You had this big fella, he was hurt. You had Josh Hamilton hurt last year. You had Eric Ibar, their starting shortstop, their all-star shortstop now. That was hurt for some time last year. And a couple of pitchers as well. So when you've got that kind of a thing, that's what happens. So the Angels played or had the same results that we're having right now last year with injuries. So I think this is, like you said, the team that they were supposed to be a couple of years ago.
Mendes ready for the 1-2 pitch. That's looped out of play. And Pujols checking that bat, see if he cracked it.
Because when you're facing a team like this, where you come in, or they come in, and everybody's swinging the bat well, what goes through a pitcher's mind? Well,
first thing it's not just a team that's swinging the bat well. The first thing I do is pick out the guy or two in their lineup that I'm not going to let beat me in a situation. Pujols is one of those guys, and for me, Trout would be the other guy. And the best way to try and ensure that is make sure nobody's on the bases when he comes up, when Trout comes up. And then if you can, make Trout the second and the last out of the inning so Pujols comes up to lead off an inning. But, you pick out, I would pick out a guy that he's not going to be in position to beat me, and if he is, he's not going to get a pitch to hit. And then you go on and see who is really hot in comparison to what they normally do. If a guy is hitting a lot of balls the other way and having a lot of them fall in, you need to know that. That's different than his normal approach. You need to know when guys have changed from what they typically do and are having success, because you don't want to get caught. You don't want to get ambushed by that. And that's about all you can do. Recognize the guys that you don't want to beat you, and then recognize the guys that are doing something a little bit different successfully. And then just go pitch as well as you possibly can. And make it uncomfortable for people. That ball's drilled to center field. Going back, Martini has a play on it. And Lewis runs it down right near the warning track. Well, 1 hit, 1 left. We have finished half the ball game. The Angels leading 13-3. Rangers trying to energize their fans a bit. They trail 13-3, but Adam Rosales will start things off, then back to the top of the order facing Hector Santiago. Rosales 0 for 1, a fly ball to center back in the second inning. Oh, we were talking about a team that's hot like the Angels, Matt, and what would you want to find out in a position players meeting about the other team in a situation like that?
I think what I want to know is who's hitting the ball, what are they hitting, and where are they hitting? Because I've got to figure out where I'm going to line up and try and, take some of those hits away if I can. And, I don't know how they do their meetings now, but I know our meetings, we just figured out, okay, here's, we know how they're going to, our pitchers are going to pitch each individual hitter, and that's how we set the defense. Bucky Dent was our infield coach, and he had a huge book of every player in the American and National League, and it was readily available right there on the bench. I know their hitting charts that are in there, or pitching charts, right, and what the pitchers throw. That's in there, but we have that defensive book as well. So if you forgot something or didn't know there was somebody coming off the bench, you can go and check and see what it was. But I wanted to know who was hitting what, where they were hitting it, and who wasn't. Typically, a lot of times if there's a guy that's, a pull hitter, but all of a sudden you get in the game and he's fouling the ball off the other way and he's behind everything, right, you've got to make an adjustment in the game. If your pitcher's, feeling a little bit good and he's pumping it up a little bit more than normal, okay, I've got to adjust in game and not, not just go by what the book says. So a lot of it had to do with what was going on.
One out, Shin-Soo Choo coming up. Let's take time here for a Mazda game break with John Radigan. John. A lot of things going on there. Wow. John. Yeah, that 100-mile-an-hour fastball up around the noggin, that's going to get a lot of folks upset.
Yeah, whether it was intentional or not, somebody's going to be not too happy.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out what difference it makes whether it's intentional or not.
None.
If it breaks your skull, it's still broken skull.
None.
I kind of chuckled at that. Well, he didn't mean to. Oh, really?
I didn't mean to crack your skull.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I feel so much better now.
Make sure you apologize to it, too. That's going to happen. 1-2 to Choo. Shin-Soo, a single and a strikeout tonight. 1 for 2. And he's called out on strikes here as Santiago now has 3 consecutive strikeouts, 5 for the game. Tom, I think Santiago's figured out how to get through 5.
Yeah, I think he has too. He's throwing the ball a lot better than he did in the first inning. One of those pitcher's pitches, it looked like. Not sure if it's a strike or not, but it's probably right near the strike zone.
Kind of helps when you got a 10-run lead, though.
Yeah,
it helps a lot.
Tom and I were talking early about the second inning, bottom of the second inning. He went out there and Santiago went out there and got him 1, 2, 3. In the third inning, he walked the guys, doing this, throwing 20 pitches. And he was just trying to figure out how am I going to get through 5 to break that 16-start losing streak or non-win streak. But I think he's figured it out. Rougned Odor with his first at-bat of the night, hitting in the position previously occupied by Elvis Andrus, who left 0 for 2. Odor takes a strike. Rougned at 258 for the year. 3 home runs, 17 driven in. Santiago's 2-1 pitch. Now 2-2. We're talking about those defensive placements. Mac, do you ever have a pitcher come up to you between innings and say, hey, my stuff is this or that, I'm going to change the way I'm pitching to him, so you got to change defensively?
I've had a couple do that, but I've had a few more actually, and the first time it's great, but I've had some pitchers just look at me and, you know, let me know what they were going to throw.
Yeah.
Move over.
There you go.
Don Sutton was that guy.
Yeah. I can believe that.
One, yeah.
Well, he strikes out the side. Santiago is through 5, and it's 13-3. Angel lead. Matt, thanks for joining us. We'll see you after the ball game. Baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealer. The Ford Summer Spectacular Sales Event, now playing in a Ford dealer near you. And by a reminder from Budweiser, great times are waiting, designate a driver. A great night for baseball. Unfortunately for Ranger fans, it's been a great night for Angels hitters. Leading 13-3 as we head to the top of the 6th inning, and the Major League debut of Matt West is about ready to take place. The 25-year-old Houstonian on now to have his first foray into the major leagues.
Well, Matt coming on in relief of Roman Mendes, and if he can do the same thing that Mendes did, he'll be feeling pretty good. Mendes pitched 2 2/3, 1 hit, no runs. Matt West at Frisco and Round Rock, AA and AAA, 27 games, had a nice record, a strikeout per inning. And he has the thrill of pitching to Josh Hamilton as his first major league hitter.
And a 94-mile-an-hour fastball is very high for ball 1. Hamilton 2 for 3 tonight, a pair of run-scoring doubles. West, a very interesting story. One guy that went to the mound after experiencing some blurriness as a hitter in the 2010 season. We'll finish that story in just a minute. Eric Ibar coming up. Let's go and say hello to Jim Knox. Jim.
All right, Buzz, I thought I'd check in on these guys, these Ranger fans. Look at this. Groom, best man, groomsman. I guess this guy, what are you getting married? Big guy, huh?
Yes, sir.
What's your name?
Jeff.
Where are you from?
From Oakland.
So a long-time Ranger fan. You're coming to the game. This is the bachelor party, I guess?
Yes, sir.
All right, any second thoughts, okay?
Not yet.
Well, that seemed like a second thought right there. What about this couple over here? And you guys married? No. Anything you would like to say tonight? What? She's not good enough? No, I'm just kidding. All right. Enjoy the game, guy. Hey, congratulations. Bunch of good Ranger fans from Abilene. Buzz, thanks.
All right, Knoxie. A one out here after Hamilton's fly ball to left, Eric Ibar. The count to him is 2 balls and no strikes. Ibar tonight, RBI single, RBI ground out, and a walk. 1 for 2 officially. Matt West back to the plate. Good high fastball at 95. Well, West began things with the Rangers. He was a second-round draft pick in 2007 out of Bel Air High School. Went to the Arizona Rookie League and hit .301 down there that year. Next year was at Spokane, then 2 years at Hickory. Started having some vision problems and caused him to think about going to the mound. He made the transition pretty quickly. Very quickly.
Well, it's nice to have the kind of talent that you can go from one to the other, hitter to pitcher or pitcher to hitter. Have some alternatives.
3-1 pitch. Eyeball pops it foul. That will be back into the seats. Fills the count.
Rick Ankiel did that a while back. Rick was a top pitching prospect with the Cardinals. Had some problems throwing strikes, converted, and became a pretty good outfielder.
Sean Doolittle of the
Sean
A's.
Doolittle is a great example.
Now closer for the Oakland A's. But he have a knee injury that, well, I think it was a knee injury that had surgery on that didn't work too well for him. Line drive to center with Leonis Martin perfectly positioned. That's out number 2.
Another player back when we played, Bobby Darwin, came up as a pitcher and pitched for quite a while before he became one of the better power hitters in the American League.
Well, he was too. He had some good power.
I got the best one though.
Okay.
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth. That is the best.
They don't get much better than that.
Nope.
Babe Ruth, if he stayed as a pitcher, probably would have gone to the Hall of Fame as a pitcher.
Got a little note. This is the 100th anniversary of Babe Ruth getting into professional baseball. Oh, 1914. Grew up in Baltimore. The Red Sox.
Angels had a closer, Troy Percival, who was a catcher originally in his career.
1-0 pitch coming to Kendrick.
Good fastball. One thing we've seen from Mendes and from West, they can both tune it up there 94 to 96 miles an hour.
Matt West has gone 94, 95, now 96.
Keep on going.
Yeah, Kendrick is asking, you have 97 out there too? Well, we'll find out here in a second. No, stayed at 96. And we got the swing call, so it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Matt West kind of went down each year as far as the batting average, although he ended up hitting 13 home runs at Hickory in 2010. That was his last year as a position player. Only hit 223 that year, but in 115 games had 13 home runs and 48 RBI. He's in a pretty good spot now. He's recovered all the way from Tommy John surgery. 1-2. On the ground to Beltree. Gobbles that up. And it's a 1-2-3 inning. Welcome to the major leagues, Matt West. 1-2-3. First frame for the right-hander. 5.5 in the books. 13-3 Angels. the Sonic Slam Inning, brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $1,300 and dinner for two at Sonic Drive-In. Tonight, the Rangers are hitting for Gordon Spanier from Cedar Hill. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Gordon Spanier from Cedar Hill will win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Well, Gordon, hang on. Now you got the right guys coming up to the plate. You have Rios, Beltree, and Smolinski who face Hector Santiago. 1 ball, no strikes. Rios 0 for 1, although he reached on a fielder's choice and scored in the first inning. Walked his last time up. Santiago gets a fastball in. It is 1-1. Tried the back door with a breaking ball and found the lock on it. 2 balls and a strike. Rangers have just had 1 hit since that first inning. It was a Jake Smolinski single. Conger flashing the signs out. Santiago with a 2-1. 3 balls and a strike. Off the end of the bat, that's fouled back. The count is now full. Alex with the 0 for 1 tonight. Batting average at .302. Payoff pitch. Got him swinging. Santiago now with 5 consecutive strikeouts.
The Rangers have had a couple of strikeout streaks in the last few days. What did they have the other day? 7?
7, yeah.
Different pitchers, I think. Had a good 93-mile-an-hour fastball tailing away from Alex. Ended up out of the strike zone.
Yeah, that was against the Astros, a 7 straight. Fields and Sip. And I think there might have been 1 more in there.
Yeah, I know there's
Sip
at least
4
2.
straight. It was in the first or second game against them.
And Santiago only had 3 strikeouts in the first 4 innings. The last one in the 4th inning was a strikeout, and then 4 more since then.
Yeah, it was. Fields had 3, and Tony Sip had the last 4. Right-hander Corey Rasmus starting to loosen in the Angels bullpen. 1 ball and 1 strike to Beltree. Adrian 1 for 2 has extended his hitting streak. 14 straight now. The 1-1 offering. That is just a bit outside. 2 balls and a strike. Beltree letting it loose, and that ball got in his fist quite a bit. Probably a good thing he didn't put that in play. 2-2 now. Hector Santiago studying the signs, the left-hander back to the plate. And Beltree hits it deep down the right field line. It is slicing into the corner, and goodbye. Adrian Beltree, an opposite field smash for his 13th home run of the year. And we have a Sonic Slam winner. Gordon Spanier from Cedar Hill wins $1,300. Congratulations, Gordon.
Well, we've shown some highlights in the pregame show of Adrian, and you can add 2 hits that he's had today to that highlight. First time up, he drove in a run. He hit a ball. No, he scored a run after hitting a ball about 6 inches off the ground, a breaking ball into left field for a base hit. Now he takes a high fastball and shoots it right down the right field line, barely fair, for a home run. He's just in the streak that he's in right now. He's hitting the ball solidly, and he's using the whole field. I don't know that he's pulled a home run right down the left field line yet, but he's hit a ball to just about every other part of the field.
And Jake Smolinski just got under that. That thing would have been up in the Jack Daniels club. Hamilton puts it away for the second out.
Jake's having some pretty good swings.
Yeah, he is.
Had a couple of doubles in this game. Had a good swing at that pitch. Look at Adrian slicing the ball just fair, right down the right field line, just barely a home run.
338 feet is the take and take right off the top of the wall.
He is a great example of using the whole field right now.
Beltree, 13 home runs, 50 RBI. 2 outs here in the Rangers' 6th. Carlos Pena, who has flied out twice tonight, steps in. Ball, no strikes. This is right down. This is our wedgie cam down there. It's about 6 or 7 feet from our wedgie cam. That's what it looks like if you're a fan out there in that wedgie. See that ball coming right at you. A ball and a strike to Pena. Carlos 143 with the average. 7 for 49. Check swing. That pitch just off the corner. 2-1. Santiago 2 pitches away from the 100 pitch level. He's trying to break a long streak without a win. 16 consecutive starts. Couldn't get Pena to offer there, and the count moves to 3-1. Time called. And tired of waiting on Santiago. Now the left-hander into the wind in the 3-1 pitch. Full count. Robinson Chirinos hoping to get a shot in this inning. Payoff pitch. Got him swinging. That's 8 strikeouts now for Santiago. He gives up the solo Adrian Beltree home run in the 6th inning. Get a run closer. On to the 7th we go. 13-4. Angels. The Angels got off to a rather quick start. About 13 runs in the first 3 innings. Rangers tried to calm things down and get back into it after the first half of the inning, of the first inning, but couldn't quite get it done. Single runs in the 4th and 6th. Adrian Beltree and Jake Smolinski, 4 of the Rangers' 5 hits tonight between them. Angel 1 through 4 hitters, about 10 for 15 with 10 runs and 8 RBI. Ouch. Well, the Angels come to bat here in the top of the 7th inning. It'll be the bottom 3rd of their order. David Freese to start it off against Matt West.
A very impressive 6th inning for Matt West. He featured his fastball, and the Angels made 3 straight outs.
Freese 0 for 3 tonight. Pitch, strike 1. Freese with a couple of strikeouts and a ground ball to third base. Fouls that off the fist, out of play down the right side. Freese, of course, Ranger fans remember from the 2011 World Series with the Cardinals. Say he was the thorn in the Rangers side would be understatement. On to first, and he was retired here. 1 gone. C.J. Cron coming up.
That was a good pitch by Matt West. He threw a sinker down and away. Freese kind of reached for it and just tapped it out to second base. So 4 up, 4 down for Matt. 2 youngsters doing a good job, Mendes and West.
C.J. Cron 1 for 3, had a base hit in the 2nd that came around to score. Since then he has popped out and grounded out. And Matt West with a big overhand hook, just missed. 1 ball, no strikes. West again ready. 2-0. West, the 3rd pitcher tonight used by Ron Washington. Colby Lewis started. Had a rough 2 1/3. Line drive to right. Alex Rios started in and put the brakes on. He had to backpedal a step or 2. That ball carrying right to him for out number 2. 5 up, 5 down for Matt West. And now he'll face Hank Conger.
Yeah, Matt's only thrown 19 pitches. Might get pitch another inning. Don't know how many times this year he's thrown 3 innings in a game. Probably not very often.
Conger, a pair of singles his first 2 times up there. He's 2 for 3. A strike as West took something off it and got it in for an 0-1 advantage. West, a belt high set. 1-1. Matt back to the plate. Left that breaking ball high and away. 2 balls and a strike. Matt West with 5 consecutive batters retired. 3 fly balls and 2 groundouts. And he misses low. 3-1 now. Wants that fastball outside, and West will try to accommodate it. 3-2. still 96 and elevated a little bit. That's usually pretty effective. Now the right-hander is ready for the payoff pitch to Conger. It's out of play to the left. This is the first game of a 4-game weekend series. Tomorrow will be Nick Tepesch and Garrett Richards. Garrett Richards, great year. He's 10-2. Nick Tepesch at 3-4. Miles Michaelis on Saturday night, opposed by Jared Weaver. Got him swinging. A little high octane up about letter high, and that's the first strikeout of Matt West's Major League career. 3 up, 3 down. It's stretch time at Globe Life Park, 13-4. Angels. Trailing 13-4, and Hector Santiago's night has come to a close. It'll be right-hander Corey Rasmus coming in, and before we tell you about Corey Rasmus, Robinson Chirinos thrown out 23 runners this season, and 20 caught stealing with 3 pickoffs. Also, that's the most by a Rangers catcher since Gerald Laird caught 40 runners back in 2007. Robinson Chirinos, well, he never stopped improving, is an understatement. He has just been outstanding. The work with Benji Molina and with Ivan Rodriguez and Hector Ortiz, the minor league catching coordinator, has turned into one of the best in the league. And there's one of the best that ever played the game behind the plate, Benji Molina.
Well, you definitely pay for your coach's salary if you can contribute to the success of a major league player at the level that Robertson has improved at this year. Corey Rasmus on to appear in his 23rd ball game. Pretty good opponent's batting average, only .223.
Robinson Chirinos, first ball swinging. Skies to right field. Calhoun toward the line, makes the grab. So one pitch, one away.
Well, Santiago ends up looking pretty good in this game because of how many runs the Angels scored. And he did only walk 1 and strike out 8, which is nice performance. But in a game where you're getting some pretty good pitching, the Rangers did score 4 runs against him in 6 innings. So the offense continues to show improvement and score runs. It's just when you have to get 13 or 14, it makes it a little difficult.
Yeah.
But 4 runs in 6 innings, you'll take that.
You have to go back to some Ranger teams a few years back to see if you expect that kind of output.
Yeah.
Leonis Martin 0 for 2 tonight. He has flied out and struck out. Corey Rasmus to the plate. That's high and away. Rasmus, that's pitched on 4th of July, Independence Day, against the Astros. Worked 2 1/3 in that outing. Gave up 1 hit. And he fires a strike in there to Leonis Martin. Martin now at 271 with the average. Big breaking ball. That finds the mark. It is 1-2. I've seen Leonis get upset a few times lately about calls early in a count and then really have trouble focusing on the next pitch. And that certainly is something that I think young players have a more difficult time doing. One of the things that Tom, you were talking about as far as development goes, that's one of the areas where you want to try and get better this season.
Yeah, and you're going to have calls that you don't like. Obviously, every game you're going to have borderline pitches. Some go your way, some don't. And I think as a young player, what you try to learn to develop is the ability to not worry too much about one early in the count, because it's only strike 1. Even if it's strike 2, you still have 1 left. Obviously, the ones that are a little bit more problematic for you, or when they call it strike 3 on a pitch that's out of the strike zone, you get a little upset because you're out. But until that point in time, you've got a chance to still control the at bat and overcome a bad pitch.
Yeah, a little different if it's a 2-strike pitch with a winning run at third base and 2 outs.
Yeah, I think one of the best examples of that was not a young player, it was a veteran player. I don't know if you remember last year in Toronto when Jose Bautista came up late in the game. The game's on the line, there's men on base, and he felt there was a bad call. Turned out we showed the replay of it. It was a strike, but he thought it was a bad call. He completely let it affect an at bat to where he swung at a bad pitch, ended up striking out in a key part of the game. And for a veteran player, it was obvious that first pitch affected him that way.
Happens to everybody from time to time. You got to overcome it. 3 up, 3 down for Corey Rasmus. Rangers gone. We're going to the 8th. 13-4, Los Angeles.
And time for the Progressive fan of the game. We're going to have a little special presenter tonight. T-Love, here's the shirt, and his buddy Luke they're going to pick out the fan of the game. Who do you like, T? Take it away.
Thanks, Jim. We spotted this the purple shirt.
Purple shirt.
From our seats.
Purple shirt.
And
pop up, buddy. What do you want to say to this big guy?
We saw you from our seats, and we liked your dance moves and liked how you getting the crowd all amped up with the wave and stuff. So can you show us some of your moves?
Hey. All right. Don't forget the shirt.
Here's a shirt for the Progressive Fan of the Night.
Oh, thank you.
There we go. Great job, T. Great job, buddy. See how easy it is. Anybody can do it. Way to go, T.
He's gone from being a cameraman.
Good day, mate.
Good job, T.
That's a future Gin Knox right there.
He's gone from an aspiring high home cameraman to the sideline reporter.
I don't think our fan with the dance moves was very disappointed that he got asked to dance again. He's got some moves.
Aaron Pareda.
He deserves to be fan of the game.
Now, and those are the numbers for the big left-hander. His 26th game of the year. Facing the top of the order, Cole Calhoun. A swing and a miss. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. Calhoun still a home run shy of the cycle. Tripled, doubled, and singled in that order his first 3 times up. And Pareda misses a little bit low to make it 2-1. Well, Matt West, 2 perfect innings, and I mean perfect. He faced 6 hitters. He retired 6 hitters. He struck out 1. Matt West required 26 pitches to navigate the 2 innings with 16 strikes. And Aaron Pareda now trying to duplicate that. He has a 2-ball, 2-strike count to Cole Calhoun. Left-hander deals back to the plate. Up the middle, into center field, a base hit for Calhoun, and he now has a 4-hit night. Well, Mike Trout coming up. We're going to use the Fox Vision, which we introduced to you last night, to show the speed that Trout has going down the line.
Yeah, we'll show you a couple calculations here. Trout is going to hit a little dribbler down the third baseline. He will reach 22.3 miles per hour running speed. Adrian Beltree is 101 feet from first base. And Trout was 28.7 feet from first base himself. So when someone going 22 miles an hour is 28 feet from the target, and the guy picking up the ball is 101 feet, he doesn't throw it because he doesn't have a chance to get him.
Got no chance.
He can't get him.
Unless you have a howitzer. That's about the only way you can do it.
See, I'll toss this one back to those guys. How fast, if he was 28.7 feet away from first base, and Adrian Beltree picks the ball up 101 feet away from first base, how fast would the runner be going if Adrian could throw him out at first base with a 80-mile-an-hour throw? There, figure that one out.
I think you stumped him.
Well, I have to admit, I don't know the answer either.
They're putting in a call to the science guy.
Yeah.
See what you come up with.
You've got 101 feet away from the target, throwing the ball 80 miles an hour. The runner is, let's say, 29 feet from first base. How fast would he be running for it to be a tie? The ball and the runner touching the base at the same time. There's got to be a mathematical wizard that can sit down and figure that out.
Well, how fast would the ball have to be going to throw him out regardless if he's 29 feet from home?
Oh, like maybe 220 miles an hour?
Yeah.
There you go. That's another way of looking at it.
If Adrian had thrown it, how fast would he have had to have thrown it to get it there?
That's even better. That's a better way.
And Adrian's arm just fell off when he was thinking about that.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably, well, I'm not even going to say because I haven't got the slightest idea, but it's faster than 80 miles an hour, which is probably about how fast Adrian could throw it.
High and away to Trout. Emily, our math whiz in-house, has the answer to that. Em?
It's 43.5 miles per hour.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Well, you know what? No one's going to dispute that, Em.
I thought if I said it with enough conviction, you guys might.
No one will dispute
might
that.
Believe me.
It was a little giggle at the end that kind of gave it away.
I cannot tell a lot, fellas. I have absolutely no idea. And my father, who is a CPA and a numbers whiz, would be very disappointed.
Well, then I'd toss it right back at him.
I'll get him on it. I'll get him on it.
Tell him to figure it out for us.
First baseman Albert Pujols.
Well, one out as Trout goes down swinging. He's retired for the first time tonight before Pujols steps in. Let's take time for a Mazda game break. Once again, John Radigan.
Wow. Well, Kansas City at home trying to make a little statement and get back in that Central race. Not doing it.
How about the Tigers? Lately, they had dropped 14 on the Dodgers the other night. Dropped 15 on Kansas City.
They're a tough team to figure out. You just got to catch them at the right time.
Boy, isn't that the truth?
They've been terrible at times this year for, rather extended periods, and then they come back like this. If they win tonight, they'll be 5.5 games ahead of Kansas City. 14 games over.
The pitch in the dirt all the way to the backstop, and down to second is Calhoun.
The Angels came into the game 16 games over 500. They've been playing some great baseball.
Wild pitch is the judgment of the official score. And Calhoun at second. Albert Pujols the hitter. 1 ball and 1 strike to count. Barreda a check of second. This is high and away. Pujols tonight has a base hit in 4 official trips. He has driven in a run. That was his 61st RBI of the year. He chopped that almost right off the top of his foot. Looked like he might have gotten a little piece of it. Albert, it could have been a lot worse. Two and two. Bareda's next pitch. Shank to right field. That's in for a base hit. Calhoun traveling around third will score. Pujols with an opposite field RBI single. That makes it a 14-4 Angels lead. And Pujols with his second RBI of the night. Now with 62 for the year. And he's going to be replaced at first base. John McDonald, veteran utility infielder, coming off the Angels bench to run for Albert Pujols. One on, one out, one in. And here's Josh Hamilton, as you can tell by the chorus of boos, and he promptly lines one to right. That is going to settle in for a base hit. Rios cuts it off. Hamilton on his way to second. Stopping at third is McDonald. And Hamilton with his third double of the night.
Shortstop Eric Ivar.
The Angel onslaught continues. Hamilton 11 doubles now this year.
One of the keys tonight against Josh is you have to make a better pitch on the first pitch. He likes to swing at the first pitch, and he's had several first pitches to hit that have been good pitches to hit. He's got 3 doubles doing it.
Well, while we have a second here, let's take a look at tonight's AT&T fan photo, our selection this evening. And it comes to us from Gary. A nice picture sent in by Gary. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. And if you folks would like to tweet your photo, maybe get it shown on one of our upcoming telecasts, it's hashtag Southwest Fan Photo. Thanks to the folks at AT&T for making that possible. A 2 on and 1 out. Eric Ivar, the switch hitter, turns around to bat from the right side against the lefty Barreda. Ivar 1 for 3 with a couple of RBI. Hard hit, but right at the shortstop Rosales. That'll score a run. Is coming down the line and crossing home plate is McDonald. And on to third goes Hamilton. They're now 2 outs with 2 runs across. The Angels now leading 14-4.
Yeah, Ibar's picked up 3 RBIs tonight, 2 on infield grounders, 1 on a single. He's knocked in 48 runs this year on the shortstop position. A guy that the most he's ever knocked in his career in 2010 was 35. He's got 48 before the All-Star break this year. Pretty dramatic improvement.
Yeah, the reason that he was selected as an All-Star replacement.
Pretty good reason. Everybody knows he's a slick fielder at shortstop.
Tailing fastball finds the mark to Howie Kendrick. A ball and a strike to the Angels' second baseman. Kendrick tonight an over, and David Freese, the hitter to follow Kendrick in the order, the only 2 Angels without a hit. It's right off the fist and fouled away. Down moves to a ball and 2 strikes. Aaron Pareda will need at least 23 pitches to get himself out of this 8th inning. Aaron's gotten into a stretch where he just can't keep the opposition off the scoreboard, it seems like. Pitch a little bit low, 2-2. Left-hander back to the plate. And it's skied to center field. Jonas Martin angling over into the alley, makes the catch, and that will do it. And the Angels add on 2 on 3 hits. They leave 1. We're going to the bottom of the 8th. It's now a 15-4 Angel lead.
Arlington 15-4 Angels now as we sit up here in the Captain Morgan Club getting ready for Rangers Live, presented by Esurance. After the game, we've got to hear from Wash as usual. And how about some of the rookies? Pretty good performances by the rookies tonight. Mark McLemore will join me, and we'll also see if we can get this desk moved. We might see if either Mac or I can pull off the dance moves of our progressive fan of the game. I'm just not sure we're going to be able to get this desk out of the way, guys. Back over to you.
Go for it, John. Get on top of the desk.
There you go.
No, second thought, don't, John. I don't want to see you pull. I don't want to see you pull anything.
The Rangers now batting in the bottom of the 8th inning. It's the top of the order. Shin-Soo Choo facing Corey Rasmus. He cues the first pitch foul. It is 0-1. Chu 1 for 3 with a base hit and a couple of strikeouts. And C.J. Cron, the designated hitter up until now, has taken over at first base, so no more DH. Colin Cowgill has entered the ball game to take over in center. Now ball down to Cron. He steps on the bag. That is out number 1. And John McDonald, the pitch man for Albert Pujols, stays in the game to take over at short. Ibar, Trout, Pujols, all out of the ball game. The pitcher, Corey Rasmus, is now hitting in the number 5 slot of the Angels order. There is no more DH. Here's Rougned Odor for his second at bat. Odor struck out his first time up there, and he fouls that first pitch back. Rasmus ready. Odor waiting. Toward left center field. Long run for Hamilton. He reaches out and made the catch. Josh Hamilton fully extended into the alley. Made a great backhanded catch of a sinking line drive off of Rougned Odor's bat.
Boy, he went a long way and again showed his athletic ability going after the ball. Let's take a look at it. A little bit easier if you're a right-handed thrower because you've got your left hand, the glove on your left hand. It's a little easier to reach out for it. He's got to reach across his body, catch it, and then do the somersault and hang on to it. Beautiful play. Seen some good defensive plays over the last few days in this ballpark.
No, 2 away, base is empty. Alex Rios up for his 4th time to the plate. He is 0 for 2 officially. Reached on a fielder's choice in the first, came around to score, walked in the 3rd, and struck out in the 6th. 1 ball, no strikes. Rucinski throwing in the Angels bullpen. Drew Rucinski. Corey Rasmus with the pitch. And it comes into the inside corner right at the top of the strike zone. 1-1. Rios now with the 0 for 2, as you can see, down to 301 with the batting average. That jammed and fought it off foul. 1-2. Chris Gimenez is warming up in the Ranger bullpen. Could we have another Mitch Morgan situation?
He's got to go a ways to be better than Mitch.
He does.
Mitch probably looked as close to a pitcher as we've seen a position player. Although we didn't see it, but Chris Davis evidently threw pretty well last year for Baltimore in a game too.
In Boston, he got
he came into a close game and got a win.
Yeah, extra innings. And Rios pops it up. Shallow center field. Kendrick backpedaling. Makes the catch, and Rasmus has a perfect 6 outs. And he has worked here tonight. Rangers gone. We're going to the ninth. 15-4 Angels.
Life Park in Arlington. Angels leading the Rangers by a score of 15-4. And they're going to do it all over again tomorrow. This is a 4-game set and a rare appearance on Friday night here on Fox Sports Southwest, as we will feature Game 2 of this 4-game set, the final one before the All-Star break. And have a chance to see a couple of the game's best hitters on display once again. Albert Pujols and Adrian Beltree. We'll see if they can continue to swing a hot bat tomorrow with Nick Tepesch on the mound for the Rangers, fellas.
All right, Ann, thank you. Well, here we go. Chris Gimenez, his first Major League appearance as a pitcher. I love it when catchers get out there. They find out how difficult it is to work with them.
Hey, you better not talk yet. You might be surprised. Might break out a knuckleball.
Oh, no, I mean, no. What I'm saying is it's good for him to get out there, but now he has to deal with a catcher and see how difficult they are to work with.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you.
You can appreciate from the pitcher's position.
I thought you were saying something along the lines of now a catcher can find out how hard it is to pitch.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Well, they have a pretty good idea of that.
They already know?
Yeah. Check swing.
Filling that strike zone up with strikes.
Yes. Harken back to May and in Denver. That's Moreland coming in to face the Colorado Rockies and tuned it up to about 94 miles an hour a couple of times.
He did, boy. He looked like a pitcher.
Had a 1-2-3 inning.
Craig Gentry pitched for the Rangers one day. He was throwing the ball pretty well. Chris popped that last pitch at 86 miles an hour.
1-2 pitch to Freeze. He's foul back.
I remember one day in the wintertime, I got into a discussion with radar gun speeds with Bobby Valentine. And it ended up with me saying to him, I'll bet you any amount of money that you can't throw a ball 80 miles an hour. And, of course, that lit up his competitive juices.
Sure.
In his mind, he could throw it 100 miles an hour. And so he took the bait. And Marty Scott, our farm director, called him, and he got a radar gun. He came out to the old batting cage out in center field. And so Bobby warms up, airs it out the first couple pitches, 76, 75. And we told him that, and he didn't believe it. So we had to take the radar gun and show it to him after every pitch. And his mentality was the longer he threw and the harder he threw, sooner or later he was going to throw 180 miles an hour. After about 15 minutes, it was 90 degrees out in that cage. After about 15 or 20 minutes, sweat pouring off his face. It had gone from maybe 85 to 83, and he was, 76 to 75, and he probably ended up about 71 or 72. So you see someone throw a pitch 84, 85 miles an hour. It's not that simple. And Bobby was throwing a lot of batting practice.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he had a terrible arm or anything, but it's not that simple to throw a ball 80 miles an hour.
And he probably had a hard time the next day combing his hair.
I bet he did. Yeah, he would never admit it, but I bet he did.
Yeah, you overdo it just one day and you're not used to it.
Yeah.
It gets you a little sore.
Especially the workout he had.
0-2 the count to C.J. Cron. That's fouled back just below us. Chris Gimenez, 8 pitches thus far, 7 of them for strikes. Now the next time he goes out to the mound and say, hey, come on, throw strikes. I can do it. You can do it.
That's right.
Oh, up high and tight.
That's all you want to do is get beamed by a catcher. Of course, you got a better chance of getting out of the way when it's coming in at 85 than you do when it's coming in at 95.
Yeah. Gimenez to work on the 1-2 pitch. Got him swinging.
Throw him a changeup.
He did. He did. Got them all. Well, folks, Tuesday, baseball's best. Together in Minnesota, Derek Jeter takes the field for his last All-Star game in what promises to be a very emotional and unforgettable night. Special coverage begins at 3:30 on Fox Sports 1. That's followed by the 2014 All-Star Game at 6:30 on Fox. The authenticator there with the ball that Chris Gimenez got for his first strikeout. He's going to keep that. He wants to make sure that is the ball that he got for the first strikeout.
That was a pretty good changeup.
Yeah,
75 miles an hour.
Hank Conger, and he pops one into right center field, not very deep. Martin makes the grab, and it's a perfect 1-2-3 ninth inning for Chris Gimenez. Very nicely done. Bottom of the ninth, Rangers coming up trailing 15-4. Brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Find Southwest Airlines fares online only at southwest.com. By AT&T UVerse TV. Find out what's possible with AT&T. Call 1-800-PIT-ATT, mobilizing your world. And by your Texas Ford dealers. The Ford Summer Spectacular Sales Event, now playing at a Ford dealer near you. White and blue at the ballpark. Popular color combos on this mid-July game. Rangers will set off some fireworks here, and they will face Drew Rucinski.
Making his major league debut at AA Arkansas. He was having a nice season. Definitely looks like he was a starting pitcher. 95 2/3 innings pitched, 85 strikeouts. Having a nice season at Arkansas. 7-4 with a 2.35 ERA.
Rucinski facing Adrian Beltree to start things off, and he misses outside for ball one. Beltree 2 for 3 tonight, now hitting at .339. A home run and a single. He has scored twice tonight. Toward the hole and through for a base hit. Adrian Beltree continuing to scald the ball, especially here at home.
You just have no idea where he's going to hit it either. It could be anywhere.
Beltree's third hit of the night.
Well, Adrian came into the game hitting .336, 3 points behind Jose Altuve.
The Rangers going to pinch run for Adrian Beltree. Daniel Robertson has come off the Ranger bench and will take over at first base. Well, Robertson running now at first, and Jake Smolinski, the hitter, is 2 for 3 tonight. Smolinski, a 2-run double in the first, a single in the fourth. He scored when he reached on that single, advanced on an error. Finally scored on a Robinson Chirinos sacrifice fly. AT&T U-verse rewind. Back in the first inning, Rangers trailing by 4. And Smolinski continuing to swing a very hot bat. Drives that double into the left field corner. Both Rios and Beltree scoring. Smolinski with 3 RBI at the big league level now. This just his 3rd start. I would say he's off to a great start. Ahead of the count here, 2-1. Hard hit, fair ball on the third base side. Barron's back into the outfield. Robertson being waved around third. He is going to score. Into second with another RBI double is Jake Smolinski, who is 3 for 4.
The only out he made was that ball. He just got underneath and hit sky high to left field. Jake's had 4 good at bats tonight, 3 doubles. Josh Hamilton has 3 doubles. Both left fielders have 3 doubles in the game.
The inner part of the plate, he really turned on that. Let's get through there in a hurry. Right down the line.
Boy, that's about as close to being fouled as you can get and have it be called fair.
Oh, run across for the Rangers. 15-5 now, the Angel lead. And Carlos Pena, who is 0 for 3, takes low for ball 1. Well, Jake Smolinski now with 8 hits in his first 4 games. That's the most by a Ranger in their first 4 games in franchise history.
Wow.
We have seen some Ranger history here tonight. And I would imagine we'll try and keep it going tomorrow night.
Pretty tough to get him out of the lineup now.
Yeah, so you think he might be in the lineup? I would think so. Smolinski at second. 1 ball, 1 strike to count to Carlos Pena. Pulled slowly on the ground to first. Crone underhands to Raczynski. That is out number 1. On to third goes Jake Smolinski. He's there with 1 out. And Robinson Chirinos coming to that. Raczynski from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, to Tulsa Union High School. So attended Ohio State University. Pitch to Chirinos, low and outside for ball 1. Robinson 0 for 2 with a sacrifice fly tonight. 28 RBI for the Ranger catcher. Got number 29 just 90 feet away if he can put the ball in play. It's a strike to even things, and a ball and a strike. Broken bat, look at the right, a base hit. Smolinski scored. Robinson Chirinos with the RBI single. Rangers got it to 15-6.
That's a pretty good pitch that Robinson just hit. A hard breaking ball, down and away. Borderline pitch, might not even have been a strike. Looks like an Adrian Beltree hit. Reaching down and going to right field with a nice pitch. Right off the end of the bat.
Well, he did too, didn't he? That's a great camera shot. You can get it slowed down to see that happen. Well, 2 runs across in the inning, and Leonis Martin trying to keep it going. He takes strike 1. Martin has struck out twice and fly to left field. Hitting at an even 270. Foul tips that one. It's 0-2. So we'll even slow it down even further for you. Ding. It's a wiggle stick he's got in his hands when you get it off there. Oh-2 pitch. Instead, Brzezinski backs up. Brzezinski signed as a minor league free agent in August of last year. He had been pitching independently. Rockford up the middle. That's a base hit. Stopping at second, Gimenez. First and second, and one out with Adam Rosales coming up.
The shortstop, Adam Rosales.
Mike Butcher, the pitching coach, quickly making a visit to the mound.
Well, Leonis kind of salvages his night. He was 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts before that base hit.
The home plate umpire, Lance Barrettson. Come on, break this up, guys. So Brzezinski has given up 4 hits in the inning. A couple of runs so far. He has runners at first and second, 1 out. Adam Rosales, who is 0 for 3, steps to the plate. First pitch from Brzezinski. Inside and hitting. And the appeal to first, no swing, but it is a hit by pitch. And that'll load the bases for the top of the order. Mike Sosa's going to hang on here a second. I want to check the replay. That's pretty evident that that was a hit by pitch.
We're going to find out right here. Well, what a shot.
Yep.
It hit his wrist and it hit the bat. Well, I got both of them.
2, a rip and a miss. There's nothing in 1. Rally hats. The preferred wear right now at Globe Life Park, if you're a Ranger fan. Bases full of Rangers. Gimenez at third, Martin at second. Rosales at first, and now Shin-Soo Choo down in the count. No balls and 2 strikes. Choo 1 for 4, had a first inning single. An average of 250, right where he began things tonight. Facing the 25-year-old Drew Rucinski. Call strike 3. We're a little disgusted with that breaking ball. Well placed by Rucinski. And that is out number 2.
Did it come back and catch the corner? Not quite, according to our Fox tracks anyway. Another one dropped in what we affectionately have termed the Chew zone, taking over from the Murphy zone.
Changeup is outside to Rougned Odor.
That is our unofficial zone of pitches that look like they might slightly be out of the strike zone that are called strikes. We used to feel that David Murphy had a lot of pitches like that called on him, and based on some of the results that we see on Fox tracks, it looks like Shin-Soo has the same thing happen to him.
Little pop-up on the infield. Shortstop McDonald takes care of it, and that will do it. Rangers do come up with a couple of runs on 4 hits in the 9th, but leave the bases full, and they come up short as the Angels get the first win in this series, the final tonight. The Los Angeles Angels 15 and the Texas Rangers 6. Well, the Rangers have extended their losing streak down to 5 straight. They'll try and break that tomorrow night. John Raddick and Mark McLemore back to wrap things up right after this.